Stand by. We are now live.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Public Works and Utilities Committee. I call this meeting on November 4th, 2024 at 5:23. Well, that's wrong, at 5:05 p.m. Can I get a roll call, please?
Certainly, Madam Chair. Councillor Romero Worth,
I'm here.
Councillor Michael Garcia,
Present.
Councillor Lee Garcia,
Excused.
Councillor Castro,
Presente.
and Chair Chavez.
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes from staff?
Sorry. Yes, Madam Chair, we'd like to remove item 7H from the agenda. It's missing packet materials. That'll be brought forward at another date. And I think we're removing one of the presentations.
Okay.
Yes, Madam Chair. It would be the first presentation. Mr. Ring is not available, so we would just like to push that to the next meeting.
Right, and so that would be item 6A, which is Paseo Real Water Reclamation Facility Master Plan Update. Am I correct?
That's correct. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Right, so that is 6A, also removed from the agenda. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve as amended.
Second. All right, I got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. All right, next is approval of the consent agenda. As I last saw, there were no items pulled. Do we need any items pulled now that we are here? All right, could I get a motion?
To approve.
It's
Second.
amended.
As
Second.
amended.
As we pulled off, I apologize.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Could I get a roll call vote, please?
Certainly, Madam Chair. Councillor Castro,
Yes.
Councillor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Councillor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Chair Chavez.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, public comment. Do we have any individuals from the public that would like to come up and say anything this evening? All right, we have one individual walking up to the podium right now. If you could just go ahead and give it, that would be great. They'll pass it out to us. Thank you. All right, thank you, sir. Go ahead. If you could just state your name for us.
Is it on? Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Okay, Rick Martinez. I've always come here and I've always told the truth of when I come up here, I always tell the facts about everything that I do when I talk to any subject on this. And I'm really disappointed that you got a letter from the chair of the Keep Santa Fe Beautiful, which misrepresented me completely. So I just want to clarify a lot of these things. That's the reason I want this handout for you. The first part is that he talks about the directors and all the projects that's been going forward. I have served as a board member for 14 years, served as a chair for 4 years, and helped move many of these projects. So a lot of these projects were got done with my help. So I was chair at the time too. So I worked on that. So he also brought up the clarification on the restoration of the caboose. He says that the restoration of the caboose, that I took off the original logo of the caboose, but at the meeting, but let me go back for a minute. That the actual meeting was about bringing back the historical status of the caboose. At that meeting, there was never any talk about historic status. The meeting was about this photograph with the caboose in front of it, with Keep Santa Fe Beautiful on it. That was the subject of the meeting. And to be honest with you, that was his drawing that he did. It didn't come from me. It didn't come from anybody else. But that was a drawing from the chair of the Keep Santa Fe Beautiful. So I want to move. I don't want to keep your time, so I want to try to move as fast as I can. And they said I threw a fit. Of course I did. I worked a lot on this caboose, and then the one thing that really bothered me is when I had, because I raised the money to help to get this caboose. What bothered me the most is that when I asked them about all the money we raise, they tell me that basically, who cares? We own the caboose. So the donors, forget the donors. Now we'll go to the next page. And the next page is that I painted over the original design of the caboose, but this is a photograph from the reporter that same year that shows a caboose with graffitied. It was a top mess. It was a really, really big mess. So I just want to clarify that's a false statement there.
Mr. Martinez, I'm gonna give you like 15 seconds to finish because you're
Oh.
over 2 minutes, okay?
Please, this is my last example. Why should you give me, can't I finish my subject?
That's why I say you got 15 seconds. I'm giving you extra.
You know what? You guys read this and the way you guys treat the public, I think it's a really disgrace. I mean, you blindside the public. You don't really give the public an opportunity to explain and to hear what the really truth is. Take your time, read that whole thing. And if you probably not gonna do anything about it anyway. It's already a done deal. So I thought this is my last hurrah. So you're killing my time.
I'm not,
This is the way you treat the public. This is a disgrace to what the
Th-
city is, you and the mayor.
thank you, Mr. Martinez. Everyone gets 2 minutes. I gave you more. So thank you. Are there any other comments from the public? Okay, I don't see any. All right, going on. 6A was removed. So our first presentation today will be 6B, Paseo Real Water Reclamation Facility Administrative Order Emergency Project Progress Update. All right, so Mr. Dupuy, who do you have presenting for us today?
Madam Chair, I believe Mr. Brian Atia is online. If they can promote him to be able to be a presenter.
All right, if we could get some IT support to make sure that we get our presenter promoted and up on the screens, that would be great.
Hi, good evening. I'm just going to pull up the presentation here.
Thank you, welcome. Thank you for being here. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Is my audio coming through clearly?
Absolutely, we hear you just fine. Thank you. And once you are ready to go, it's all yours, okay?
Okay, wonderful. Well, first off, good evening, Madam Chair and Councilors. As John said, I'm Brian Atia, representing Hazen and Sawyer. We are an engineering consulting firm, and we've been contracted by the city to support your collective response to the EPA administrative order regarding the Paseo Real water reclamation facility. So I last spoke with the committee on September 16th. And Mr. Dupuy asked me to return to provide a status update and basically share some good news that has occurred over the past 2 months here. So I know during the last presentation, one of the committee members requested some data substantiating some of the positive reports that I was sharing. So be careful, because sometimes you ask an engineer for data and you get what you ask for. I do have a number of plots here, but really the objective is just to quantify some of the positive trends that I previously discussed, and even more so show you how they're continuing to move in the right direction. So with that, I can jump into the data. Slide should have advanced for all of you. Can you just confirm that was the case?
So the slides are not projecting on our end. We do have the
Oh.
presentation in front of us, but
Okay, let me try this again. Apologies for that. Share screen. You see a blank screen? It showed that it was sharing.
we don't see a screen. I don't know,
Anything.
IT, if you could give us some help here.
Share screen. Screen one, share.
Oh, there, something's happening.
Okay,
If you open the presentation now on your end, there you go. Perfect. We got it.
we're in business. Okay, great. Sorry about that.
No, it's
Um,
fine. Thank you.
So this slide here pertains to the sludge volume index, or SVI for short. So that parameter is used very commonly throughout the wastewater treatment industry as an indicator of sludge settleability. And a lower SVI value indicates a better settling sludge, which is desirable. The reason that sludge settleability is important is because you're basically cultivating this activated sludge in the aeration basins, and then you're conveying the effluent from the aeration basins to the clarifiers. Those clarifiers need to capture that sludge to either return it to the biological treatment process or to waste it through the solids treatment train. And the clarifiers can't really capture sludge that does not settle. So any sludge that is not captured in the clarifiers, rather than it kind of being taken out of the liquid train process, it will continue moving downstream and eventually degrade effluent quality. So a lower SVI is certainly desirable. And for a conventional biological nutrient removal system, a typical SVI range is going to be on the order of 80 to 140. But if you look at the left-hand side of this plot, you can see that earlier this year, the SVI was regularly reaching the 200s to 300s. Which can typically, and in this case, in some cases did result in clarifier operational failure and poor effluent quality. So this, this is a biological treatment process, and the first thing we needed to focus on was getting the biology right. And the SVI will track in response to, in getting the biology set up correctly. So we kind of utilized a suite of different approaches. And you can see what I've done on this plot here is just added some call outs indicating when we started implementing certain measures. So the first thing we did was we started dosing polyaluminum chloride, or PAC for short. And what that compound does is it coagulates the sludge. So even though the sludge is filamentous and not settling well, it kind of binds it together. It's just like almost like adhesive. So you form larger particles and they settle better in the clarifiers. Then subsequent to that, we modified some control limits to increase the air supply into the aeration basins. The reason that we did that is that the poor settling microorganisms can be dominant in environments with low dissolved oxygen. So a way to prevent their growth is to increase the dissolved oxygen by delivering more air to the treatment process. Then the next call out you'll see here is that we started sludge chlorination. So what we did there is we started adding sodium hypochlorite, basically bleach, to the sludge that was being returned to the process. And what that does is it selectively essentially damages and or destroys the filamentous organisms. So it removes them kind of from the population so that the more desirable microorganisms can have a competitive advantage and start to outnumber the less desirable microorganisms. So you can see, we basically had 3 steps here, and once we implemented the 3rd step, which was I think August 4th, you can see the SVI just gradually, drops off quite, substantially. I mean, we're at 200 at the end of July. It's been a steady drop, and we've recently stabilized in the range of 50 to 100, which is certainly within the norm. And this effect has been so significant that on October 24th, we decided we had reached a point where the microbiology had stabilized, and at that time, we stopped chlorinating the sludge. We'll continue keeping a close eye on it, make sure we don't start moving up in the wrong direction. But right now, it seems like we've landed in a really good place, and we've seen significant benefits downstream as a result of that. So in terms of the next steps to maintain this trend, we're just going to continue mitigating the filaments that we don't want in the treatment system. And the key way we're going to do that is utilize and maintain the air supply. As I said, low dissolved oxygen can result in the growth of the less desirable microorganisms. So currently, the city is undertaking efforts to repair and restore the aeration system capacity in the North Ditch. So during this time period when the north ditch is offline for repairs, the south ditch is going to carry pretty much all the influent flow coming to the facility. So the city recently procured some temporary surface aerators, and we are presently working with the contractor to install them in the south ditch to augment the south ditch's air supply so it can carry the load while the north ditch is offline for repairs. So moving on here, the next parameter that I will discuss is total suspended solids, or TSS. So you can see this red dashed line indicates the permitted 30-day average for TSS, which is 30 milligrams per liter. And looking at the left side of the plot, you can see that, earlier this year, April through July, we were seeing a number of TSS excursions, including values as high as 150, 160 milligrams per liter. And a lot of this was really due because, that previously the SVI was high, so sludge wasn't settling. So a high amount of solids was coming out of the clarifiers and getting passed further downstream, eventually to the effluent. What happened when the clarifier effluent was poor quality is essentially overloaded the tertiary filters and then resulted in permit violations downstream. So, how did we get to this point? Well, basically we utilize the combination of improved sludge settleability that I just discussed in conjunction with cleaning the disc filters, rehabilitating and returning the sand filters to operation. And what that has resulted in is, going on 2 months now of consistently low TSS values. So we certainly want to work with the city to maintain that positive trend. A lot of the focus now is just going to be on monitoring clarifier operations. Basically, it's involves measuring the blanket of sludge in the clarifiers to make sure that things continue to settle well. So basically, the solids are settling and going out the bottom of the clarifiers rather than going out the top of the clarifiers into the effluent and causing TSS excursions. If we are, capturing and removing more solids from the secondary clarifiers, another thing we need to focus on is wasting strategy. Basically process, that material through the solids treatment train. So that way, the solids exit, with the digested and dewatered biosolids rather than exiting with the liquid effluent. So the next parameter here is total nitrogen, or TN, and that is a sum of both inorganic and organic nitrogen species, each of which requires a pretty unique treatment step. So just to clarify, total nitrogen is the sum of ammonia, nitrate, nitrite, and organic nitrogen. And the limit for those components summed up, the 30-day average is 6.9 milligrams per liter, which is the red line, the red dashed line here. I can't, tell you that we've achieved it. We're hovering very close to it. I will say that nitrification, denitrification is probably one of the more complicated unit processes we're dealing with here. So it kind of has taken a number of incremental steps to start moving in the right direction. And basically what we've been doing is addressing kind of the subcomponents of total nitrogen. And once we, work through all 4 or so of them, then we're, are going to be a lot closer to hitting that ultimate limit of 6.9 milligrams per liter as the sum. So, in terms of what we've done to, address these individual components. So over the past few months, we've focused on increasing the airflow to the aeration basins. So air is important to convert the ammonia to nitrate. You can't simply remove ammonia. You need to convert ammonia to nitrate, and then you can remove the nitrate. So that first step is important, and that's why the air supply is going to be so critical. In addition, we've worked with the plant staff to increase the mixed liquor recycle back to the aeration basins, as well as measure that flow. The reason we're doing that is once you convert the ammonia to nitrate, need to return that nitrate to the plant's bioselector, which is an oxygen-free environment, and that's where nitrate can be denitrified to nitrogen gas released to the atmosphere, therefore removing it from the liquid component. So another thing we did there was we turned off air to the bioselector, since denitrification occurs where nitrate is present but oxygen is not present. So nitrification really depends on the availability of oxygen, and denitrification depends on the availability of nitrate in an oxygen-free environment. So for those reasons, we've outlined kind of the next steps here. One of them is repairing the North Basin's air piping diffuser so we can increase the air delivered to the activated sludge. As an interim measure, we are going to, or I should say, we already are working with a contractor to set up temporary surface aerators in the South Basin to kind of cover that period when the North Basin is being repaired. The city is also undertaken additional improvements to the mixed liquor recycle pumps, including providing them with variable frequency drives, which will enable us to control that flow a little bit more precisely. And then, once all that infrastructure, basically the pumps, the aeration system, once that's all in place, we'll work with the city to really refine and optimize a process control strategy that will enable efficient operation of that infrastructure to complete the nitrification, denitrification process. The one, kind of twist here that I'd like to point out is that, as I said earlier, total nitrogen is a sum of inorganic nitrogen as well as organic nitrogen. And, the inorganic nitrogen, as an industry, we have that figured out. The organic nitrogen is more difficult and a lot more costly to treat. So right now, as we are figuring out the inorganic portion, we're going to be implementing a plan to better characterize the organic fraction. Then once we have characterized that organic fraction, we'll understand what portion of total nitrogen is comprised of by the organic fraction. And we can basically back calculate what limit or what target do we need to hit with total organic, inorganic nitrogen so that the sum is less than the 6.9 here. So those are, the measures that are underway on the total nitrogen front. So the next parameter here is total phosphorus. So as you can see here, the 30-day average permit limit represented by the dashed line is 3.1 milligrams per liter. We've been, hovering around it. We've gotten some values below it, some values above it. It is worth noting that although it's a 30-day average, the plant is not necessarily required to collect, samples all 30 days and then average them. Typically, samples are collected 3 to 4 times a month. So that's why, there aren't that many dots here. But you can see, sometimes we're coming out just below it. Sometimes we're coming out just above it. In terms of, how we've gotten to this, somewhat stable operation and a little bit of a downward trend close to the 3.1 milligrams per liter. A lot of it's attributed to the polymer dosing that I described earlier. Because, not only does that bind up phosphorus, but it also helps remove solids. And really the only way to remove phosphorus from the liquid stream is to allow the microorganisms to accumulate that phosphorus in their cellular mass, then have the microorganisms settle and then waste them through the solids treatment train. So our next steps here, now that the sludge is settling, and we do know that, through microscopic analysis that there is a healthy population of polyphosphate accumulating organisms, or PAOs. Those are the organisms that obviously accumulate the phosphorus. We're going to focus on optimizing the solids wasting strategy, as well as kind of shoring up the solids treatment train processes so we can reliably remove that sludge, and in doing so, remove that phosphorus from the plant. The only way to get out of the plant is to take it out with the biosolids, or it goes out with the effluent. So obviously we need to pursue the earlier pathway out of the facility. Next and final plot here is effluent E. coli. So E. coli is a bacteria that lives within intestines and is a key indicator of effluent quality. is measured and reported in terms of colony forming units, or CFUs, per 100 milliliters, and maintaining E. coli values below the permitted 30-day average of 126 CFUs per 100 milliliters, as well as the max day limit of 410, is really critical in terms of permit compliance, effluent quality, and reuse. So at Paseo Real, there's a UV disinfection system that inactivates E. coli. And as you can see on the left-hand side of the plot, that system was not functioning very reliably earlier this year. You can see some really high, E. coli readings. It's worth noting this is in a log scale, this y-axis here. So, we were seeing E. coli readings up to 10,000, really, kind of blowing the limit there. So, we kind of implemented a series of stepwise approaches to kind of improve this system. So we started one by improving the sludge settleability, improving tertiary filtration, and basically what that did is it reduced the concentration of solids going through the UV system. The reason we want to do that is because solids can actually shield E. coli and other bacteria from the UV light and essentially allow it to bypass or sneak around disinfection. And then in addition to that, we have been working with the city to kind of methodically clean and repair the UV disinfection lamps to restore their full functionality. So we can see here we started UV repairs, but it's a lengthy process. There's lots of components. We've been working through it. We cleaned the UV system. Basically, those are the lamps this summer. Then we had a specialized contractor focused on these types of systems on site in early September to perform more comprehensive repairs. Then even more recently, I don't have it called out here, but we figured out that although we had I should clarify that there are 4 parallel UV channels, and we've been able to repair channels 1 through 3. Channel 4, we still don't have all the parts to repair it. So that UV bank is offline, and that's okay. 3 fully functional UV channels have the capacity for the treatment required. The problem with channel 4 is that it was offline, but unfortunately the isolation gates around channel 4 were not fully intact. So it was allowing a portion of flow that was bypassing disinfection, and that flow was blending with the disinfected effluent and kind of skewing that average upward. So just 2 weeks ago, we sandbagged those leaky gates to stop the flow from bypassing disinfection. And then in addition, last Wednesday around midnight, the city staff performed a very in-depth cleaning of the channel downstream of the UV disinfection system to remove growth that could increase E. coli concentrations. So that'll happen very recently. You can just see this nice downward trend. And since the latest 2 activities, namely blocking off channel 4 and cleaning the effluent channel, we've gone from E. coli values in the 10,000s to single digits more recently. Very promising data. This one has been something we've been attacking for a while now, and things are really coming together. The effluent quality is looking really good from an E. coli standpoint. So, in terms of maintaining this and perhaps even improving it further, we are working with the city to implement a more long-term fix to the leaky gates, just to make sure that no flow is bypassing UV disinfection. And, now that the city recently has performed the physical cleaning as well as the chemical cleaning of the channel downstream of UV. That's kind of a one-time thing, but we'll work with them to kind of set up a program, a periodic cleaning to make sure the E. coli values stay well below the limit where they currently stand as of today. So, this slide here just kind of summarizes what we've been able to achieve since I last spoke to you on September 16th. And, as you can see here, all the data and the positive trends I showed you on the prior slides, really what's behind them is just a relentless and steadfast commitment by the city staff to addressing the various challenges at Paseo Real. There's a lot of people on the city side that Mr. Dupuy and his department have been all pushing together to move things in the right direction. So you can kind of see a lot of these items were called out on the prior slides. You can see the list of activities we've completed over the past 2 months. Just kind of starting from the top here. As I said, now that sludge is settling, we need to make sure that we can reliably waste that sludge out of the plant. So we performed a comprehensive assessment of the solids treatment train in order to identify deficiencies and start prioritizing repairs. We also worked with the city to adjust the secondary clarifier weirs to improve flow distribution. That way, clarifier operations were balanced rather than a couple clarifiers getting overloaded, a couple being underloaded. The city also has been really procuring some chemicals to support and augment the treatment process by expediting quite quickly. So the city was able to procure sodium bisulfite. So that will be important if we ever want to activate a supplemental disinfection system while UV systems being repaired or rehabilitated. Another item, this was late September, Piedmont Technical Services. They are that specialty company that really focuses on on-site assessment and repairs of UV disinfection systems, just like yours. So they're on site for a solid week, working with the city to utilize the parts they brought as well as the parts the city had in its inventory to button up the UV system. And the data on the prior slide, shows the benefits of that effort. Another item was around the same time, late September. That's when we used the city issued a purchase order for supplemental sample analysis. That way we could profile the E. coli upstream and downstream of the UV disinfection system. And that's what allowed us to pinpoint the fact that channels 1 through 3 were doing a great job, but channel 4 was bypassing flow, and that flow was skewing the average upwards, and that's what led us to, blocking off that failed gate in channel 4. October 4th, the city conducted a chemical cleaning of the UV effluent channel. Then the following week, October 8th through 9th, the city attended 2-day operator training sessions to review the secondary treatment process theory and operations. I'll talk a little bit more about that on the following slide here. And then on October 28th, the city has scheduled the startup of the temporary surface aerators for November 12th. And again, the reason we're doing that is right now and really over the coming months, when the north ditch is down for repairs, the south ditch is going to be doing all the work. We need to make sure that there's no lack of air supply to the south ditch, particularly during colder weather. This slide focuses on that activity I noted in early October. So, in addition to improving the plant's infrastructure, we've been working closely with the city to train operational staff. Since long-term success is just always going to be a combination of the plant and its people. We can't forget about the people in this situation. So Hazen's scope includes development and training on 11 area procedures and expectations, or APEs. We conducted the first series of training October 8th through the 9th, and we focused on what I would say probably the two most important APEs that we will present, and those are the biological treatment process, consisting of bioselectors and the aeration basins, and then the secondary clarifiers is kind of the heart of the treatment process. So, over these 2 days, we reviewed the treatment process theory, we discussed operational strategies, we had a lot of back and forth dialogue, it was quite collaborative, and we're going to, go through another 9 of these. And, one goal here is to grow today's trainees and into tomorrow's trainers. So, we have all these individuals who attended that session, due to other commitments, not everybody can make it. So the current plan now is to have wastewater director and the superintendents repeat this training to other plant staff, just to, start that process of continuous knowledge transfer. This slide here, I did have a call out regarding effluent channel cleaning on a prior plot, but that one little call out really didn't do it justice. I really feel that the city staff should be commended for their deep cleaning operation that they undertook the night of October 30th. The photos on the left kind of show what they're up against. So, this is the channel, downstream of UV disinfection. So, I guess the prior problem was material was passing through. The UV disinfection system wasn't doing a great job at killing bacteria. Bacteria loves, cold, dark, wet places. So there was a lot of growth in that channel. And, we could have a UV disinfection system that's running at 100%, but if the channel downstream looks like this, we were still going to have E. coli violations. So, the city assembled the crew, and this is only a fraction of them pictured here, but, they're at it, all night, October 30th into the early morning of October 31st, getting into these, hard to access spaces, manually, scrubbing them off, power brushing, just removing this material was a physically demanding operation. They did an incredible job, successfully and safely completed by the morning of October 31st. And, we've seen really positive data as a result of this significant undertaking. So finally, I think the last time we spoke, I showed you some before and after photos. Still have, the same before photos. This row here basically shows what things were looking like, March, April this year. This shows, where we're at today. Leftmost photos just show, the microbiology. So you can see previously we had a lot of long stringy filaments that were preventing the sludge from settling. Through a combination of the measures that we implemented, you now see, much more compact flock with very few, if any, filaments. So that sludge is really dropping like a rock now. So, when you zoom out from the micro level, sort of looking at it at the macro level here, the aeration basins used to have, this very thick mat of foam just kind of solidified on top. You can see that's broken up significantly. And, since the sludge is settling better, a few months ago, the clarifiers were essentially failing because the sludge just wasn't settling fast enough. So it was coming up over these weirs here and getting passed on further down the liquid train. Very different picture that you can see today. Pretty clear conditions at the top, indicating a well-functioning clarifier. And then the UV disinfection, really critical to the E. coli values. You can see that previously, due to lamps being offline and, lack of cleaning, we had bacteria, growing on the UV lamps. Well, in reality, we want the UV lamps lighting up and killing off the bacteria, and that's what's happening today. So yeah, I just wanted to share those photos to put a visual on, all the improvements that we've managed to accomplish as a team over the past few months here. Last slide here is somewhat related, but a little bit adjacent. Mr. Dupuy has asked Hazen to help support his initiative to develop an operator workforce development program. So, workforce development is different than job training. Job training kind of teaches like competency, what you need to know now. But workforce development really provides long-term adaptability and sustainability. And it prioritizes kind of setting up like a human development pipeline to boost morale, retention and productivity, and just setting, the city up for future success at Paseo Real and your other facilities. So we have, four kind of overarching goals here. You can see them, we're trying to build a robust and sustainable, worker pipeline that can meet the city's needs both now and in the future. In addition, we need to support, economic growth and prosperity and help, bring individuals and businesses in to, support that pipeline. Goal number 3 is trying to close the skill gap by promoting technical skill development specific to water treatment, at perhaps earlier ages to, perhaps attract some individuals who are up to the challenges of this industry. And then, goal 4 is to work with Mr. Dupuy to, flesh this out a little bit further to win, citywide support for the larger undertaking. So, right now our scope is, somewhat limited, and we've recently got started. But right now we're pretty much tasked with working with the city to better understand, current staffing and development constraints. And then start kind of mapping out a message and a brand identity that will help with talent recruitment and retention. And where we're at right now is we're going to be working with Mr. Dupuy to develop a more comprehensive presentation on this material, just to kind of convey it to a broader audience to build support for this undertaking. So that's my presentation, and I'll hold now for questions.
Great, thank you. If we could just get that last slide added to the deck, just so that we see that program is gonna, more information about that program is gonna be coming up.
Okay,
So
absolutely.
thank you so much. So it wasn't included in the presentation on PrimeGov, but it sounds like it's because that really was just a preview to something that will be coming to us at a later time. But just having that slide in there will just kind of be a good preview to have open to public. So thank you for that information. I think this was, it's just great to see the progress that's being made. And this presentation made that very, very obvious with both the data and the images. So thank you for that. Are there any questions from committee members? Yeah, I have a comment from Councilor Castro.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I just wanted to see if we could maybe get an update to that failed gate on Channel 4 once that comes back online. Are we at all functioning at a lower capacity? I know that we have higher capacity than we usually need, but
Right.
Madam Chair, Councilor Castro, we can definitely provide an update whenever we obtain the repair materials. Ultimately, as Mr. Atiyah explained, the UV has significant capacity. We have operated at approximately half or less capacity over the past 5 years and probably longer, largely because of conservation measures in the community that has decreased the inflow to the plant. But the concentration that is resultant from that decreased quantity of our volume is largely dealt with our aeration basins. The UV, once the aeration and the activated sludge process is complete, and you're not overflowing the biosolids to the filters and then the UV, that UV operates incredibly well with only 3 channels.
thank you so much. No further questions.
Thank you. And I want to thank Hazen for being part of this process, but I also want to give a lot of kudos to Director Dupuy. I think that you saw that there was, and I've said this before, that we had a conflict in front of us that was larger than what we could handle on our own. And not only did you seek out help, but you did it in a very strategic way in finding the right individuals to jump in and get the work done. And not only leave it at that, but seeing how we could grow from the knowledge they have to offer to make us sustainably better. So, I can't give you enough praise on that. I think it was handled very well as a leader in dealing with the situation that you were faced with. So thank you, Hazen. Thanks for collaborating with the city of Santa Fe and doing great work. And I recommend the public take a look at this presentation. It answers a lot of questions about progress and direction, and I think we are on more than the right track. So thank you. Thanks for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you, council members.
Madam Chair, if I could just add one other additional comment. I appreciate the accolades, but it's 2 groups that I think are overwhelmingly important to extend that to are the counselors for approving and providing the support so that we could do this work, and the staff being there to make it happen.
You have a good staff going on this journey with you. So thank you, staff, for being here. Some of them are in the audience this evening. We appreciate your work. It's amazing. It's amazing to see all the improvements being made. So thank you. It's a good way to keep our community members having faith in the city of Santa Fe. So this is a great example to look to. All right, so we're going to move on to our next presentation, which is 6C, Keep Santa Fe Beautiful update. Carol Branch is here to present along with Deborah Trujillo to give us an update on Keep Santa Fe Beautiful and what's going on there. So thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Good evening. My name is Carol Branch, and I am the Environmental Services Program Manager, as well as the liaison or director of Keep Santa Fe Beautiful. I am here to explain what the protocol is for our projects and how the decision was made to paint the caboose. So the caboose is a one of a kind because it is the only property that is owned by the nonprofit. So I will first explain the standard process for our projects, and then I'll explain the caboose.
And I think we might need help. See, like my voice is going slide. We might need help getting some slides going. It's on Prime Gov too, the slideshow. We're just working out some technical difficulties and getting the presentation up. Just give us a few moments. Thank you, Mr. Martinez, for letting us borrow your device. All right, we're getting there.
All right. Madam Chair, members of the committee, this is our mission statement. It is leading the community to keep Santa Fe green, clean, and beautiful. Our vision is a community of inspired, active, and passionate stewards of our beautiful city. Remember that they're all volunteers. So every year in early March, our Keep Santa Fe Beautiful staff and board of directors conduct a planning retreat to discuss projects and the needs of our community for the upcoming year. As we come up with projects and ideas of our projects, we have to follow this project criteria, which is, will the project help the environment? Will the project involve and educate the public? Will the project be sustainable? For example, if we plant a pollinator garden in a public park, will the city staff be able to maintain it? Will the project be equitable? For instance, if we overhaul a median on the north side, then we overhaul a median on the south side, on the east side, and then on the west side. And finally, will the project be beautiful? And if it passes all those criteria, then the decision on the projects is made by motion, discussion, and finally a vote. We find a location, we acquire permission. So many of our projects are done on city property under the direction of Melissa McDonald. So we meet with her and her staff, and we either come to an agreement or enter a contract if need be. And this also happens if we do a project in state property, and then we have to come into an agreement with DOT or the Department of Transportation. Then we create a timeline, we raise funds, we recruit volunteers and youth, we execute the project, and then we hold a ribbon cutting celebration. I've been the director for 6 years, and we've completed many, many projects. So these are a few of them. The entryway sign, we have planted 2 pollinator gardens. Both of those parks also have art that is made of recycled material. This is our last celebration that we did, and that is a anti-graffiti mural. It's a 1/4 mile long on Serengo Road. And then on the bottom left is one of our adopted medians. We run the Adopt a Median program, and we have 54 of the most beautiful medians in the city. So the caboose decision. So keep in mind that the current board of directors inherited this caboose. I did meet with the city manager concerning the caboose over a year ago. He suggested that the board of directors hold community meetings on the painting of the caboose, and I did inform the board of directors. They sought legal advice and chose to restore it to its historical look. I do not have a vote, but out of respect, I did schedule a meeting with the city manager a week before they painted it to give him a heads up. But he did cancel on my way to meet with him. You all have a letter from the director, or you don't, Deborah has a copy that explains the process. And this is the way the caboose looked before, and this is how it looks now. And I will stand for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Branch. Are there questions from the committee? Councilor Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Branch, for all the work that you do to make Santa Fe a more beautiful city. I mean, the mural that you did this summer involving the youth, which it's amazing. So thank you for consistently having that vision and working to improve our community. Unfortunately, this caboose issue has gotten folks talking. And rightfully so, because I think folks have really come to love that caboose. It wasn't something that was there when I was growing up in Santa Fe. It's probably about 10 years old in that location, if I'm not mistaken. But as you can see, within that 10 years, it's been fully embraced by our community. And I think that's why we saw maybe some of the uproar we did from folks in our community. And so I guess the only question I've got is, when you met with the city manager last summer, he had recommended that there be community meetings be had. Did the board have any of those community meetings at all?
They did not.
Okay. One recommendation I would at least encourage them to do is, as you probably can attest to, our public likes to come out and provide their input and their voice. And when the public doesn't have an opportunity to participate, they're going to still provide their input and their voice, but it's going to be in a negative reaction versus having them included on the front end. So I would just encourage that with any, especially with the caboose, any action that is taken with it, that the board hold some type of public engagement meeting. I'm not indicating a number of meetings, but at least one opportunity to say, hey, look, this is what we plan to do. Any input? Because I don't want things in our community that divide our community. That's not what we need in our community right now. We need to fully embrace coming together. And a simple action of asking the community or informing them, this is what's going to go on, I think it can help minimize any of the challenges. So just if you can mind passing that along for me. So I guess it's, you answer the question, and then if you just please pass that along to them for me.
Madam Chair, members, I did
Good.
let the board know. They chose a different route. Again, I'm the liaison. I don't have a vote. And it is an anomaly because it is owned by the nonprofit. They would gladly sell it back to the city so the city could maintain it, but they did inherit it. So they're doing their best to keep it
Gotcha. So
maintained.
it's interesting. If the board wants to sell it to the city, I'm interested in looking at funding for it. Because I mean, I'd hate to have it because it puts the city in a very precarious position where it's on city land, but we don't get to say what happens to it. And we definitely, I appreciate all the work that has gone on to support the caboose in the past, the restoration, the beautification. And so I think maybe I hadn't wondered purchasing the caboose, but maybe that's a question we can have with the committee. And not to say we're going to go down that route, but maybe that's an option. So thank you for opening that option. Really appreciate that. No other questions, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Branch, and please thank the board for all the work. I mean, again, in addition to the two major cleanup events, the litter index, I mean, y'all are kicking some major butt, doing some great work. So thank you.
Thank you. And might I add that we do have a Facebook page. We have a website. Not one of us have received any negativity, only praise for the restoration of the caboose.
Thank you, Ms. Branch and Councillor Garcia. Councillor Castro?
Yes, thank you again, Director, and I appreciate this moment of reflection. We've had a couple of those today, and I think it's really important that we realize how important public art is for our community. And so I understand this is a very specific case. So if we ever were to inherit the caboose or any other public art, I think it's really important that we think about what a process might look like for our community to be able to come out and speak towards that. So I'm missing my co-counselor Lee Garcia, who generally works on this stuff with me, but we are sort of working with the Arts and Culture Department to figure out what that might look like, and we would love for you to be a part of that conversation as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, and thank you for all the work that you do. I will say, and I know you're just kind of a messenger, but repeating the message would be absolutely awesome. Of, hey, the community here in Santa Fe is very loud and proud and involved and takes ownership in their city. And I think that there is a lot of judgment passed as to whether that ownership is done the right way or wrong way, but what matters is the city does belong to them. And when we want to grow involvement and we want to grow that ownership to look more positive and giving back to the city, we want to involve them as much as possible. So not only being good for the city, but being good for your organization, or Keep Santa Fe Beautiful, would be really taking any opportunity possible to involve the public. So maybe just reiterating that message to the board members would be really appreciated on our part, okay? Thank you. Thank you for all the work you do.
You're welcome.
Okay, next is, we had no items pulled off of consent, no action items, introduction of legislation. We do have consideration of resolution number 2024 to be determined. A resolution accepting a grant from the Transportation Project Fund Program administered by New Mexico Department of Transportation and entering into grant agreement control number HW2LP 50060. And this is being sponsored by Counselor Garcia. Counselor Garcia, do you have anything to say in this introduction?
I think the caption speaks for itself. It's just being introduced today because of a timely introduction that needs to happen for us to begin to hopefully accept the funding.
Great, thank you. Any matters from staff today?
Madam Chair, thank you so much. I would like to let the counselors know that there is a new Complete Streets Division Director. She started a week ago today, and we'll be bringing her to senior staff tomorrow, and she'll be hitting the ground running. Her name is Jennifer Morrow. She comes to us. She was the Deputy Director of Public Works in Albuquerque and really wanted to move to Santa Fe. So knows a lot about, and worked as a capital projects manager in streets in Las Cruces for years. So a lot of background in government, in streets, and I think it's going to be a really great fit. So we're excited to have Jennifer, which will increase my capacity to support the governing body in our initiatives in other ways.
Hey, please tell Jennifer welcome from the Public Works and Utilities Committee.
Thank you.
Director Dupuy,
No additional updates from public utilities.
have you had anything from you?
No, Madam Chair. Thank you.
And can I just say you've been doing a wonderful job?
Thank you. I apologize for the ongoing constant emails.
Oh, no. Oh, it's good. Communication is good and you're doing a wonderful job. So thank you. Matters from the committee.
I just want to thank Director Wheeler. I made a request before the meeting that we have a Spanish language presentation about our new transit plan, and she jumped right on it. So thank you so much.
Great, thank you. All right, matters from chair. Next meeting, Monday, November 18th. We will see you there. Thank you.